Hey YouTube, Bob here. Welcome to the follow-up video to my unboxing of the Analogue NT Mini Noir console. And in that video I of course unboxed the console from its packaging, and I also explained that it is pretty much just a clone console but with some unique features. Principal among those features are that it's an FPGA based console, which I believe stands for Field Programmable Gate Array. I have no idea what any of that means, but what I do understand and certainly appreciate about the product is that while it is doing some sort of emulation, it's not at the software level. It's more at the hardware level. So what this allows is for the console to behave just as an original Super NES would. And what that means is that we get near 100% compatibility with all games, pretty much zero lag or latency when you're using your controller. You don't notice any delay in the action on screen. And you get pretty much reference quality audio and video all through HDMI, or as far as the Analogue NT Mini Noir is concerned, through a bunch of other more standard analog outputs such as S-Video or Component or even Composite, I think. But the Analogue NT Mini Noir comes with some other features that I really wish some of Analog's other consoles, which you see I have here to the right below my flat screen TV, the Mega SG, which is their FPGA Sega Genesis or Mega Drive console, and their Super NT, which is the same but for the Super NES or the Super Famicom. Those also offer no latency, reference quality video and audio, and just a superb retro gaming experience on modern hardware. And that is pretty much why I decided to get these. I kind of voiced an opinion in some of my old videos that I like to play the old games on the CRT TV, and while that is true, I do have my little retro corner over here with my CRT TV. I do realize that the CRT isn't going to be functioning forever. You know, capacitors die, things break, so I wanted to find a way to, you know, just continue playing the games, but kind of grow with the times, so to speak. And these analog consoles are just phenomenal. So I want to share with you a little bit of my first impressions here about the Analogue NT Mini Noir. And we're going to start off right away with the controller that it comes with. This is the 8-bit-do NES controller, and it works only with hardware that has an NES style connector. They do have a version of this that works with USB, so you could use it with any other sort of console or PC that uses a USB connection. But this one will work only with the standard NES connection. It is of course 100% wireless here, and you got your little LED indicator light there letting you know that it is connected. So in order to get it connected to the console, you just hit the start button, and if the receiver is you know, in standby mode, which you can see by the solid blue light there, you know that it is ready to receive commands. And that's one of the things that I really like about the Analogue NT Mini Noir, and wish that the Mega SG and the Super NT had as well. There's a standby mode, and that all has to do with the power button on the back of the console. The way it works is if you press it down and gently hold it for, I think it's about a second or 2 seconds, the system will power on. When the system is on, to reset the system, all you do is lightly tap the button for a second or less, and then the system will reset. And then, of course, to turn it off from an on condition, you hold the button for, again, 1 second to 2 seconds. So that power button, I believe, it has a role to play in the fact that the Analogue NT Mini Noir Edition runs in a standby mode. And what that does is, you can see the LED is currently on the Analogue NT Mini Noir for the controller receptor, but on the Mega SG and the Super NT it is not. even though all three of these consoles are off right now. And the reason for that is Analogue designed the NT Mini Noir to be able to be powered on and off using this 8-bit DO controller here. So that's a really nice feature that I enjoy quite a bit. So in order to do that, what you need to do is push the start button to establish the connection, and you'll know your controller is connected because of the blue LED. And then to turn the console on, you hold, now of course I'm going to forget this because I'm on camera, it's either select in A or start in A. I think it's select, so we're going to do that. Yep, we got it. Control. It's powering up now. And we're going to be, I got a Famicom game loaded in there right now. It's Punch-Out for the Famicom. So you see that loads up right away. And in the loads and loads and loads of options in the Analogue NT Mini Noir menu, one of those is what it does upon boot up. You can have it load a cartridge right away, which is my preferred method. You can have it load up to the menu as well. And these menus baked right into the OS, they give you so many options, from scan line adjustment to resolution to the level of volume among the different audio channels. There are just so many settings. But the best part is it's pretty much optimized right out of the box for what most people would prefer. And I pretty much don't touch anything except for adjusting it so that when you first turn the console on, it boots up the game right away instead of goes into the Analogue NT Mini menu. And I have it set up the same way for the Mega SG and the Super NT. The only negative thing though is with the 8-bit DO gamepad for the Super NT, you can't turn it on or off using the controller. But that's no big deal. You just walk up and turn it on or off. One thing that you notice is missing from this particular controller for the Super NT is a menu button. The menu button is a nice feature here, and what that will do is while you're in game, it will bring up the menu. And see, we've got Run Cartridge. That's if you want to reset the game. You got all your settings, tools, and you can even power off the system. So that is really nice. And you get out of there, of course, by hitting the menu button once more. The point of this particular video is not to go through all these settings. There are lots of other YouTubers who have done a much better job of that than I could because they know so much more about what those settings actually are. So I'm not going to go into the settings here, but I did just want to share with you the nice feature of the controller being able to turn the system on and off. The 8-bit DO controller for the Mega SG also has some additional buttons. It's got shoulder buttons, which a Sega Genesis controller never had, but it does have a menu button, and it also has a button for turbo fire, which is nice. You can turn on the turbo fire individually for all 6 of the face buttons and the L and R shoulder buttons as well. You don't have to do that for the 8-bit DO controller for the Analogue NT Mini Noir because there are dedicated turbo buttons, the black ones above the original B and A buttons. So all in all, playing the Analogue NT Mini Noir edition has been an absolute treat. It loads up the games almost perfectly. If I were to level criticism about it, it would again have to be against the cartridge slot. Even though this was supposed to be one of the features that they improved since the first version. I understand that there were some internal improvements to the actual pin connector itself, which hopefully is improving the situation as far as games making connections. But I'm still having issues sometimes. They don't always load up on the first time. What people have noticed, and I have noticed as well, is there is quite a bit of wobble back and forth when you put the cartridge in, which of course you usually, once you put the cartridge in and get it to work, you don't touch it again. But things happen. Somebody walks by, or at least there's no controller cords anymore to affect that. But I do wish that the connection were a little bit more secure and that the games loaded up a little bit more consistently. One thing though that I think is a change that they made is the cartridge slot is wider. And that causes the wobble, unfortunately, but I think the the nature of the material that it's made out of, that aluminum, was causing damage to people's plastic cartridges. So that was the way they saw best to fix that issue. So they do say in the instruction manual to keep your games squeaky, squeaky clean. That is something that you definitely have to do. So you see Punch-Out running here. It's a Famicom game. It's a gold cartridge game, so why don't we swap it out with a gold cartridge game for the Nintendo Entertainment System. And this might be a good opportunity to explain to you what I've been experiencing, because I've never loaded up Legend of Zelda before, so we're going to see if it works. Alright, so through the magic of video editing, the Famicom version of Punch-Out has changed to the Legend of Zelda for the NES. So I'm going to go ahead and use my controller, select an A, turn it on, see if it boots up first time. I'm a little nervous here. So we get a black screen to boot up usually, then a second or two for the game. And oh my goodness, it actually did load up first time. That's pleasant. It's a pleasant surprise there. So I usually have a moment of anxiety, like, will it work? Won't it work? Oh my gosh, this thing was so expensive. I want it to load up the games at least better than an original NES would. So I would probably say about 85–90% of the time I don't have a problem with the load up of games. But sometimes I do, and that's just, I think, part and parcel to NES connectors and cartridges. I think that was just a defect that Analogue had to do their best to work with. Something else that I thought would be a negative that actually turned out to not be such a big deal was the spacing of the controller ports. I originally planned to use my original controllers on these systems, but I was so pleased with the feel and fit and finish of the 8-bit controllers that I'm really just going to stick with using wireless controllers for these new analog consoles. But originally I was hoping that the plugs for the 4-score and the NES Satellite would fit. But unfortunately, Analogue didn't space them with the same distance between the two ports as the original NES had. So that might have been on purpose, because as you can see, it includes four controller ports. So you don't need those adapters to play 4 players. But what I usually like to use them for is an extension cord for my wired controllers. But they won't fit here because of the spacing of the controller ports, but turns out to not be an issue because I'm just going to continue to use the 8-bit controllers anyway. As you can see here, even my battery save is still there, which is good. This, to my knowledge, this game, this is a 5-screw version, if you don't know what that means. NES games, when they were first produced, had 5 screws in them to hold them together, and 2 of those screws were later replaced with clips to save money on screws, and production costs. So pretty confident this is a first-run copy of the game, which means it came out in 1987. And if that battery has never been replaced, it's just impressive that it's still working, because I don't think Nintendo ever envisioned that that it would work that long. But as you can see, it is still working here. Demo the turbo button and get the volume turned up a little bit here so you can hear it a little bit. Crystal clear HD graphics. There's the sound. And turbo button, used with my sword. So I'm just holding in the button there, and it works just fine. So one other feature of that power button, I think, might have to do with battery back games, because a lot of them, let's see if I can make this happen. Can I do it without dying? I know there's a way to do it, but I don't remember how to do it. How to pull up the save menu. No, that's not what I want here. So yeah, I think in the original game here you have to die in order to be able to save. So let's make that happen. Painful as it is to watch. Almost there. Takes longer if you have the blue ring. There we go. So what you're going to see here on the save screen, and actually you won't, is yeah, It's not here. All right, well, this illustrates my point. I'm going to, let's see here. I'll hit continue and keep going. Turn it down a little bit so I can explain. As I mentioned before, this is a first run copy of the game, so on that save screen you just saw, it did not include the warning that was included and continued to be included even with newer releases of the game, to remind players to hold in the reset button on the Nintendo Entertainment System while you hit the power button to turn it off. Because even if you save your progress, if you didn't do that, just turning it off using the power button would create a little power spike, and that surge sometimes would zap your save data and you would lose it. So in later versions of the game they put a little warning on the save screen there, and this one obviously does not have it. But why do I bring all that up? Well, I think it has to do with the style of the power button for the Analogue NT Mini Noir edition. The way that it kind of doubles as a power and a reset button. It probably makes it so that you know, that power surge doesn't happen, which of course that was just kind of a byproduct of the technology at the time in 1985 when the NES was released, but probably very easy to fix nowadays. But you got the power and the reset button built in on the Analogue NT Mini Noir edition. So all in all, the connection issues aside, the reliability of getting the carts to load up on the first time can be a little bit of an issue, which is why, just like Nintendo included the little pamphlet saying be sure you hold reset while you turn the power off, Analogue included that little pamphlet I showed in my unboxing video of the console. Be sure your games are squeaky clean, I believe was their word choice there. So, whoops. Now I am stuck here on Turtle Rock. I got to figure my way out. So this is a good point to end the video. But hope you enjoyed it. And rest assured that the Analogue NT Mini Noir is a quality device. Definitely has my seal of approval should you decide you want to look for one and pick one up.